everyone, welcome back to my channel. I made my pumpkin coffee and I am ready to talk to you about my fall TBR. I'm gonna go through the books that I am hoping to read in September and October, even though they will be very busy months for me, but I always love to get some spooky reads in during spooky season. And I have been quite ambitious with this one, but I am really excited. I feel like I can do at least some of the books. Truly, I'm not expecting to read all of them. I would like to read as many as I can. They're kind of just ones that have been on my radar for a bit, that I've been thinking about a lot, that I think would be perfect to read during these months. So before I get into the actual TBR part of this video and go through all the books with you, I wanted to show you me doing my journal spread. I had a lot of fun making this one. Normally I just kind of combine the 2 months into one spread. That's what I did for this time. I think I will make like a separate like tracker of what I read. That way if I read outside of this TBR or just like something extra, I can still add it. But I really love the way this spread turned out. So let's do that now. seeing the journal spread, I really loved how it turned out. I'm super proud of it. I feel like this bookshelf design is super cute, and I kind of just did every book cover. Normally I would make them like bigger and like, you know, put my ratings underneath it, but I feel like this is a better way to do all these books instead of just writing on each one. So now let me start by taking you through the books I hope to read in September. The first one I have already started, so we're getting ahead for this month, but that's okay. That is The Night and the Moth by Rachel Gillig. This is my Fairy Loot edition, that's why it looks different and very beautiful. But if you don't know what this is about, it basically follows Sybil, who is a diviner in this world. She basically can receive these visions from the gods, but in order to do that, she essentially has to drown herself. But eventually, Sybil's fellow diviners start to disappear, so she has to receive help from this really, like, I'm gonna call him pesky knight. He's kind of like rude, at least where I am so far. She will eventually have to enlist his help to figure out where her fellow diviner sisters are going. So far, I love the atmosphere of this book. It is so well written. I love Rachel Gillig. She's definitely becoming one of my like top favorite authors. But I feel like instantly transported to this world. It's so vivid and the writing is very atmospheric and it's just very unique. Like I feel like Rachel Gillig dreams up a lot of very unique concepts that I don't really see often, or if I do see them often, she puts her own spin on it and she just makes it her own. Very excited to continue this. This is a 5-star prediction of mine, and so far it's living up to it. Hopefully it continues to live up to it. And one of my priorities through these TBRs is still to read as much as I can off of my physical shelves, like the books I physically own, just because I am trying to cut down on that. I've been on a book buying ban for a very long time and I'm trying not to break it. It's been very difficult, but I'm really trying. The ones that I don't physically own, I will be getting from the library, whether in audiobook or physical book or like an ebook on my iPad or something like that, just to prevent me from like buying a book. There is like 1 or 2 that I am interested in buying, but I'm not sure how I'll like them, so I might read them from the library first and then get a physical copy. I'm just trying not to like buy books before I really know how I feel about them, especially because I have so many that I need to get through. So one that I'm also very excited about that is also a favorite author of mine, which is Blackbringer, which is the first book in the Dream Dark series by Laini Taylor. This is actually Laini Taylor's first ever published book, so it's from her backlist. It was very hard to find a copy, but I found a used one on Pango Books, and I'm so excited to read this because Laini Taylor is my favorite author of all time. The Strange the Dreamer series is my favorite series, like 2 of my favorite books of all time, so I've always wanted to read more of her backlist, and this is actually being like republished, like revamped into an updated newer version, which is coming out in late September, and I have pre-ordered it. So but I kind of want to see what I think of the older version first. Like I think it's essentially the same story, but I kind of just want to experience the OG before I read the new one. But I collect all of her books, so I had to get that one. But this follows the main character whose name is Magpie Windwitch, and she is a fairy. She's also the granddaughter of the wind, which is a really interesting concept. But basically these kind of devils, these demons, start escaping back into their world, and they're faced with the reality of the legends like the Jinn King. So basically Magpie is thrust into this changing world and she has to deal with the legacy of one of her family members named Bellatrix, who died I think 25,000 years ago, it said. Actually, I don't know if Bellatrix was her family member, but she was her hero. She was like a very important figure in defeating the evil in this world. So it seems more kind of like middle grade, early YA, but truly I don't mind that. I love Laini Taylor's writing. I love her like imagination, just the way she thinks is so intriguing to me. And I love this book because the font is pretty big and like it is a chunky book, but I feel like I could fly through it pretty fast, so I would really love to get to this. I tried to read it a while ago and I just got caught up in too many other things, so I definitely think this is a priority for me. Then next on my physical TBR for September, I have Clockwork Angel by Cassandra Clare. I've been dying to start The Infernal Devices for so long. I read the first 3 of the Mortal Instruments last year, I believe, and you know, I enjoyed them. They were fun, nothing crazy, but they were very enjoyable. But I've heard amazing things about this series, and I'm kind of just itching to get back into this world, especially because the reading order I'm doing. I read The Red Squirrels of Magic recently, which I was told I should read before this one, so I'm very excited to finally dive into this series. I've heard nothing but good things, and I just really want to be back in the Shadowhunter world. I forgot how much I loved it, and I feel like it'd be really nice to read a physical Shadowhunter book for the first time, because every other book I listened to by Cassandra Clare has been on audiobook. So I feel like it would be a fun first experience to like actually read it, like turn the pages, you know. And one I actually just got recently, I picked this up at a little free library when I hung out with my friend Haley, which is in a different video, which you can definitely go watch if you would like, and I think you should. But that was Vampire Academy by Rochelle Mead? Yeah. I don't know much about this. I kind of picked it up because I know it's a popular and nostalgic series for a lot of people, and it has vampires, so I feel like this is the perfect, like, you know, intro to spooky season. And I also love it because it's short and it also has big font, so I feel like that will be quick and fun and easy to read. Really, I don't know much about this. I know it follows two friends, and they go to this academy for vampires called St. Vladimir's. And it's in Montana, which really confused me because I'm like, I think of vampires and I think of like Transylvania or Romania or like anywhere but Montana. Like, I think of Montana and I think of like a ranch or like Yellowstone. Isn't Yellowstone in Montana? Like, but the main characters Rose and Lisa basically have to navigate the super dangerous world of the vampires while also dealing with their friendship, their like relationship changing as their life changes. I have a feeling it'll be potentially kind of cringy, but I'm here for a fun time, so. And there are some books that, like I said, I don't physically own, but I would like to either listen to an audiobook or get a copy from the library. So one of them is The Raven Scholar by Antonia Hodgson. This is a semi-new release. It came out a couple months ago, but it sounded really, really good when I read the premise. So essentially the rough plot is that the emperor of this world called Orin steps down, and so all these strategists in this world are left to take his place, and they're kind of competing to take this ruler's place, but one of them is murdered. So then it falls to this character named Nima, who is the Emperor's High Scholar, to find the killer and solve his murder, figure out what happened. And so it seems very political. I feel like there's going to be a lot of like secrets and mystery, and I feel like there will be a lot of tension, and it seems like a type of fantasy I've never read before, but I've heard a lot of good things. The only thing that scares me about this book is it's like really big. It's like 700 pages or something. It's a thick book. So I'm not really sure if I'll get to it. It's kind of just one I've been wanting to try. And then an audiobook I plan to listen to is Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. This is the first book in the Truly Devious series. I've heard such good things about the series. It follows the main character named Stevie Bell, who goes to this prestigious private school called Ellingham Academy. She's a first year at this school, and so she's entering it with the mindset that she's going to solve this really famous cold case. But the cold case she wants to solve follows the kidnap and murder of the school like founder's wife and daughter, and the killer signed their name Truly Devious. So as Stevie is like looking into it, the killer shows back up, and it seems like a really fun mystery. It kind of reminds me of Good Girls Guide to Murder, but like set at a private school. It seems really atmospheric. And I've heard great things about this series, so I'm really interested to give it a try. And another audiobook option for me, like I said, I might not get to some of these. This one is kind of just like a backup book, but it is a romance called Haunted Ever After by Jen DeLuca. So it kind of reminds me of like a book I would read in Summerween, just because it takes place in Florida. So I feel like the spooky vibes with like the Florida setting would be perfect for Summerween, but it's gonna be a September book for me. The story takes place in a town called Boneyard Key, who has a reputation for being like a ghost town, like kind of very spooky, gets a lot of tourism for its haunted things. So the main character named Cassie bought a cottage in Boneyard Key, and so she's kind of dealing with some of the haunted things, like things are kind of strange in this house. But then there's also this coffee shop owner named Nick, and they meet, and Nick takes her on a ghost tour. They kind of like spend time together. They talk about the gossip and kind of like the ghost stories. But they're also looking into if Cassie's house is actually haunted, so they're kind of investigating that, so they're growing closer as they're looking into that mystery. I feel like this is gonna just be a fun little background listen. Like, I'm not expecting anything too crazy from this book, but I feel like it'll just be cute. I know this author has written the Well Met series, which takes place at the Renaissance Fair, which sounds really, really intriguing to me. I think it's like 4 books, so I'm hoping if I like this one, I might give that series a try. And then the last book that I plan to read in September is Garlic the Vampire by Brie Paulson. This is a pretty popular graphic novel, so I feel like a lot of people might have heard of this before. But it follows the main character, Garlic. Garlic just loves tending to her garden. She kind of minds her own business. But the townspeople learn that there is a vampire who has moved in close to them, and they're very scared, so they decide that Garlic should be the one to go confront this vampire, obviously because vampires don't like garlic. And this just sounds so cute. I've heard such good things, so I'm hoping to get the graphic novel from the library very soon. So yeah, that's about 8 books for September. I feel like it's a manageable TBR, but I'm also juggling my schoolwork and writing my own books, so we'll see how much I get to. Truly, I'm not expecting to read all of these books. I kind of just wanted to give myself some options. If I can't get one from the library, or if, you know, one is taking too long, if I DNF one, who knows. Okay, and now we move on to my October TBR. So it is kind of early to talk about this, so things might end up changing on this list. We'll kind of just see like if there's any new releases coming out that like I'm really dying to read. Tentatively, these are the books that I hope to read in October. I will have a very busy October just because I go to so many haunted houses. I love doing Halloween stuff with my boyfriend, so we're like always going to things, so I don't know how much time I'll have to read, but I definitely love to read a spooky book or two if I get the chance. So one that is actually at the top of my list that I will definitely be reading in October is The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. I think this was one of Holly Jackson's like second standalone after the Good Girls Guide to Murder series, which I just recently finished and I loved. So I'm really interested to give this book a try. I've kind of heard mixed reviews saying it's like slower, it's a bit long, it's not as engaging maybe, but I think I'll love it. I love her writing style, and she just always like pulls me in with her characters. They always just are very interesting to me. And I have read 5 Survive and I really enjoyed it, so I'm curious to see what I think of this. I think the concept is really interesting because it's essentially like a documentary style. So the main character, Belle, her mom disappeared, and the family is getting a documentary made about their mom's disappearance. Then suddenly Rachel Price, Belle's mom, reappears, and so the documentary is really thrown off course and everyone's super confused. And so Rachel tells this story about what happened to her, but Belle doesn't necessarily believe her, so there's a rift there between the mother and daughter. And I just really think this main character is going to remind me a lot of Pip, just in the way that she'll probably get way too obsessed, way too invested into the events that's going on around her. And then the next book on my physical TBR that I hope to read in October is one that I've had for quite a long time, and it's kind of embarrassing that I still haven't read just because I've watched the movie a million times. Twilight by Stephanie Meyer. Yeah, I've never read the books. I've watched the movie bunches of times. Actually, I've never watched all the movies, so I'm kind of a fake fan, but I've watched the first one like a couple times. And I love it. Like, it's definitely a silly, goofy time, like, but I love it. Like, it's just so fun. So I'm so curious to give this a try. I feel like I've missed out on like a classic experience as a reader of reading Twilight, and I feel like everyone knows what this is about, at least to some extent. We follow Bella Swan. She moves to this town, and vampires. So I'm hoping to read this physically, but we might go to an audiobook route if I decide I need it. But I'm super pumped. I feel like this will be really fun to read the book and then watch the movie. And then one that like I'm not really planning on reading, it's kind of just one that like I've been thinking about a lot, like really badly a lot. It's Golden Sun by Pierce Brown. This has nothing to do with Halloween. This has nothing to do with spooky season, but it's the second book in the Red Rising series, and I've been dying to pick this up. I read Red Rising earlier this year and I absolutely loved it. It was so good, and I've just heard amazing things about the rest of the series, so I'm really itching to continue, but I'm kind of struggling between like prioritizing scary, spooky books and reading this or something like this. But then the rest of the books for October are ones that I don't own, so they'll be from the library. One is a romance that I'm sure a lot of people could guess what it's going to be. I've never read it before, but I've heard such good things. I feel like it's going to be the perfect like fall Halloween romance book. It's Ex-Hex by Erin Sterling. It follows a witch named Vivian Jones who ended up heartbroken after her boyfriend broke up with her. And so she ends up hexing him. She ends up cursing him for breaking up with her. But suddenly the ex reappears and they are now having to deal with the consequences of the curse that Vivian put on him because it's having an impact on the town. There's a lot of crazy things happening and it just sounds so perfect for Halloween. And I've also heard such good things about it. I feel like everyone and their mother has read it but me, so I'm super excited to pick it up. Another one, I don't think this is a romance, but it is a newer release. It came out like earlier in August. It's called The Late Night Witches by Arlie Wallace. This feels like it's going to be more of like a family story, like more cozy, more of like a literary fiction book instead of a romance. It follows main character Cassie Beckett, who has kind of a crazy family life. She has a wild younger sister, 3 unruly kids, and an absent husband. So she's not really looking forward to October. She's got a lot on her plate. But vampires start to arrive on the island where they live. And so she has to deal with her family history, her family secrets, while also dealing with the vampires. So she kind of has to claim her identity as a witch, fight for her town on Halloween night, and I feel like there's going to be some found family vibes, some really great commentary on family history and kind of like your generational legacy of your family. And I'm really pumped to read this. I've had my eye on this for such a long time. Of course, during October, I would love to read some horror if I could. I'm definitely more of like a horror movie person, if you couldn't tell from my shirt. I just love horror movies so much. They're so fun to me. But I would like to get more into reading some horror books. I feel like there's a lot of great ones out there, but I have this thing where like it has to be scary, like it has to genuinely freak me out for me to enjoy it. I don't know why. I think it's because with movies they're visual, so I can see something, and that's way scarier to me than like reading words on a page. And like using my imagination, yeah, but I feel like I can never suspend my disbelief enough when I'm reading. When I'm watching something, it's right there, like I can see what it's trying to be. But I've heard such great things about this author's horror books, and the one that spoke to me the most was The Twisted Ones by T. Kingfisher. And this follows a young girl named Mouse who is tasked with clearing out her deceased grandmother's home in rural North Carolina. And then spooky things start happening and she's alone in the woods with her dog, and that sounds genuinely terrifying. So I think this is a shorter read. I think it's only about like a little under 400 pages. I say shorter and it's still close to 400 pages. So I'm not sure if I'll read that physically or an audiobook, but still I really want to give this author a try. That'll be my first book by her that I've read, but I've heard such great things. I haven't heard that much about The Twisted One specifically, but that's the one that like really piqued my interest the most. So I feel like that one is more of like a general scary horror book, but this one is one that's more tailored to Halloween specifically. It's called All Hallows by Christopher Golden. So it takes place on Halloween night in 1984 in Coventry, Massachusetts, where 2 families are unraveling. So there's secrets being revealed from these families at the same time as everyone's trick-or-treating, and all these kids while trick-or-treating are claiming that this entity called the Cunning Man is coming for them. So I feel like this will be really fun. It reminds me a lot of Halloween the movie, which is like one of my favorite movies of all time. It's not really giving Michael Myers vibes. Like I feel like the Cunning Man is going to be a bit different, but I just love that concept of like, I mean, it's sad, but like, you know, children with this urban legend and the spooky legend. And also it takes place in like suburbia. I feel like that's such a cool concept for Halloween. Like I said, it reminds me of Halloween, and I just love that so much. So this also might be an audiobook option for me. I'm not sure yet. So I do have some options for quicker, shorter reads too if I decide I want a spooky read to pick up and read in like a couple days. One is A Halloween Tree by Ray Bradbury. I know he's a really popular author and he's written some pretty iconic stuff. This one is also set on Halloween night. It follows 8 costume boys running to meet their friend Pipkin at the haunted house outside town. Encounter instead the huge and cadaverous Mr. Moundshroud. Pipkin scrambles to join them. He is swept away by a dark something, and Moundshroud leads the boys on the tail of a kite through time and space to search the past for their friend and the meaning of Halloween. This seems more of like a coming-of-age story, very quick, very short. And then last on the list for the October TBR is Scary Godmother Compendium by Jill Thompson. This was on my Summerween TBR, but I actually didn't get to it, but I'm definitely more excited to read it during October. So I remember hearing about the Scary Godmother comics or like the books when I was younger. I just never read them. Now that I'm a Halloween freak, essentially, I really am excited to kind of see what they're like and experience them for the first time. So this is a compendium of kind of like all of them. I think it's all of them. But I just love the art style. I feel like the colors are so Halloween. They're so spooky season. So that is my September and October TBR. I hope you enjoyed hearing about the books. If you also have any recommendations for me, whether it's like a horror book or a thriller or like some type of spooky romance for the season, definitely let me know in the comments. I will take as many recommendations as you will give me. Or if you've read any of these, I would love to know your thoughts, what you think I should get to first, what should be a priority, or what I shouldn't read if you think that. But I'm super excited for this coming fall. It's definitely the best time of the year. It'll be hard to like stick to a TBR. I feel like I'm really bad about just wanting to mood read all the time, but during this season there's just so many books that I really am excited to get to, so I'm gonna try my hardest. I'm definitely planning to do some fun spooky fall videos or two if I can, whether it's like a themed reading vlog or just a day in the life. I would love to do those for you, so let me know if there's a video you would love to see. But yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you're excited for fall too. Make sure to subscribe and like and all that stuff, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye bye.